Yo, what is up, everyone? This is Kaiser War here. So, yeah, we got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth news, and I'm pretty hyped, despite the fact that I don't even have a PS5 yet. So, I'm still hyped. I love Final Fantasy VII to death. Remake was pretty good, so I have to, say I'm hyped here. Because, I really enjoy Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is a really important game in my life and in my childhood, and I definitely have to talk about it. So, funny enough, I like how the trailer starts out with the destruction of Midgar, because at the end of Remake, also this is spoilers because I forgot to mention spoilers, I guess, because we're gonna talk about spoilers here. Spoiler alert: at the end, near the end of Remake, there was a giant tornado of whispers that happened near the end of the game that swept up Cloud and his gang, and they had to go fight Fate and then Sephiroth, etc., etc. So this seemingly happened in the timeline where Zack survived, and where the tornado swept through everything and wrecked Avalanche, right? It wrecked Avalanche because they were on their fight against Sephiroth. And this must be Zack's timeline of Avalanche where they got messed up by that tornado. And I think that's actually pretty cool because now we're fully establishing the dual timeline thing. So we're going to see maybe how Zack handles his stuff. So my guess is that, when they do Remake, they're going to do a dual kind of perspective kind of thing. It's like Final Fantasy VIII, where you play as Squall, right, and then you swap sometimes over to play as Laguna. So my theory is what Square Enix is going to do is that they're going to let Cloud and gang play out 7 as close enough as the original game, accurate. And then they're going to have Zack do his own adventure on his own timeline, right? And you have to play as Zack at some points of the game, that kind of thing. I hope they do that kind of thing. It seems like a massive undertaking, but I hope they do that kind of thing because that sounds really awesome. Considering Zack is going to play a big part in the game, I kind of hope, maybe Zack is going to deal with things on his side, like Deep Ground, right? I hope he does something with Deep Ground. We still got Genesis running around, probably. Genesis is not dead. That's the thing, though. Genesis is not dead, because at the end of Dirge of Cerberus, he came down. I'm trying to remember. He came down and found Weiss. He came down and found Weiss, right? And he flew off to God knows where, right? So we don't know if that has anything to do with Deep Ground. We don't know whatever. We know Deep Ground is here because we saw Nero and Weiss back in FF7 Remake Intergrade. So we could assume the other ones, the other members of Deep Ground are Rosso and Azul, right? We could assume the rest of it in there. And, maybe throw in Argentum, or Argento. Argento is a character from a Japanese exclusive character from an online or I can't remember, some side story or online component for Dirge of Cerberus, but I hope they throw her in there because I really like her design, and I hope she gets to be one of the, because she's one of the Deep Ground, right? We just don't see her because she's more of a training partner and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, dual timeline shenanigans, totally prepared for it. And then they start showing off, Cloud and gang running through the open world map of Midgar. And I think it's super cool to finally see this all in 3D. This is the kind of shit that I have always imagined when I was a little kid. As Final Fantasy VII kept going on and on, I kept thinking, man, would it be great if we could just walk around the overworld of Midgar, in 3D someday? And we finally got that. I have nothing specific to say about it. It just looks cool. You can see all the little landmarks if you remember from the original game. And it's nice to see all that stuff. I think it's really, really cool. Then they show characters like Elena, one of the new Turk recruits from OG7, which is funny to see her realized in the game. A lot of people have been making memes on Twitter that she looks like Tifa with a wig, and she really does. I think it's just more of a model. They're reusing maybe Tifa's models for some women characters in the game, which is not, I'm not shocked. Making models is hard and costly, so a lot of people do reuse a lot of them. It happens all the time in video games. I know people clown on people. I know a lot of people clown on game developers for that kind of thing, but really, are you going to really make every unique models for every single character you have? No, you're not. Especially NPCs? No, you're not. But it's nice to see Final Fantasy VII become more open, because when you're in Midgar, you're a lot more, it's not more of a linear path and restricted. There are some semi-open areas in Remake, but it's not all open, right? But now you got more freedom to run around and attack and fight enemies and discover new places in Rebirth. And that also brings up a question, like, how are they going to do like the next remake game, right? If they're letting you explore all this stuff on the map in Rebirth, how are they going to do it in the third remake game? What's going to happen next? Are they going to, keep the same world map and add to it? Are they going to just have certain sections cut off on there and just have a bunch of other sections for the next remake, the final remake game? Because like, this is where like Midgard truly opens up, and yeah, you need some traversal options. Like, you get the buggy, the boat. There's some things that just are in like that section of Midgard, but you can use all of that to go around the world. But like, I wonder what's going to happen in the final remake game. Are they going to like let you explore more of it? Are they going to expand it more? Are they going to expand the open world more? Because like, this game has to end at a certain point. And my guess is that obviously, spoiler alerts again, it's going to end at the part where Aerith does die, because that's like about, I can't remember exactly. I think it's like 3/4 or not even 3/4 through way for the OG7, but like, I know that Aerith's death comes in like at a certain part, right? Now, I thought the idea of like, okay, what about disc 2, right? Like, what about the ending of disc 2? But like, I feel like disc 2 ending in Rebirth would just be a little bit abrupt. I feel like Aerith's death would have to be like Aerith's death would have to be like the major ending point. So there's that. And then they show stuff like the Mythril Mines. They show about the Cosmo Canyon. They show Junin Harbor. You see Bugenhagen like showing off the story of the planet and how like how the live stream works and everything. It's insane. And then at the end of it all, you see like Sephiroth trying to gaslight Cloud into saying, "Hey, I killed Tifa. So who is this chick right here?" And I think that's really funny because, for one, they could like also that could be like a theory speculation where people are like, "Oh, this Tifa isn't real," right? So like, obviously, my guess is that like Sephiroth is just gaslighting Cloud because that's what he does. He does that all the time. He's always spitting out lies and trying to make Cloud doubt everything he does. So the fact that Sephiroth would tell like Cloud like, "Hey, I killed Tifa. So who is this chick over here? Why is she here?" That kind of thing. So I think that's really funny. Or he could easily be talking about someone else, right? But I remember in the Japanese version, I think that Sephiroth did say Tifa. So it's Tifa they're talking about. Because my first theory was like my second theory was like Aerith, because obviously this Sephiroth is from OG7 and Advent Children. He survived and he knows something more he's talking about, right? So if he mentioned that he killed Aerith in the original game, and then he's looking at Aerith like, okay, what's this? Who's this girl, right? Who's this Aerith, right? It would make total sense because Aerith knows a lot more than she's letting on, right? And we already know as of Advent Children, and obviously at the end of 7, that Aerith still exists within the life stream. She can control the life stream to an extent, and she still exists in her consciousness is still in there. So that's one thing, but we know the whole deal is with Tifa. So basically, what Sephiroth's trying to do is just goad Cloud into thinking that this Tifa is a doppelganger of Jenova of some kind, because he did mention that Jenova can peer into your mind, and then like she can take forms of like anyone anyone you hate, anyone you love, all that kind of stuff. So he's trying to like essentially trick Cloud into thinking that the Tifa he always knew. Everything he's knew has been a lie, especially this Tifa. He's trying to manipulate him to believing that this Tifa is a Jenova doppelganger. And I think that's pretty on point for Sephiroth. Also, we get to see Yuffie in the party, which is actually pretty cool. I wonder how they're going to integrate Yuffie into the party somehow, because like, obviously in the OG7, you meet her in like a random forest and fight her. So I don't know if that's gonna be, I think that's obviously gonna be more of a scripted thing. She's not gonna be optional, because you can play all throughout 7 and not even pick up characters like Yuffie or Vincent, right? But knowing how Remake is gonna go, these characters are gonna be like mandatory to the story. You can't just like walk away from them. You have to they're gonna be part of the story, because obviously they gave Yuffie her own DLC episode. So yeah, she's gonna be very important somehow too. So there's that. And I feel like, honestly, we're probably going to meet Yuffie early into the game, because this is where you start getting there, or maybe like halfway through. I don't know, actually. From what I see in the menus, it seems like you'll get her really early in the game. I wonder how they're going to start Rebirth, because like they start the Rebirth with like like, you know, they started the trailer, like the second trailer with like, you know, Avalanche just being wrecked by the tornado in Zack's timeline. But my guess is like maybe they're gonna like, because we saw in the first trailer, we saw like Cloud walking with Sephiroth, right? That's when, you know, the Cloud says about the flashback out how he, quote unquote, Cloud went with Sephiroth up to Mount Nebel, right? So I assume that the game is going to start with the whole Mount Nebel section, because I think that'd be a great beginning, right? That'd be a great beginning. You could play as Sephiroth, get a feel of Sephiroth, and cut back to Cloud's like, you know, fading in and out and trying to, you know, come up with his convincing story about Sephiroth. And I think that would be pretty cool, a good intro, because you could play as the villain in the intro. And I think that would be sick as hell. But yeah, I'm pretty hyped. I don't have a damn PS5, which sucks. You know, I'm glad that Remake released on the PS4 so I can play it. But with Remake Integrate out, because I never got a chance to play Intermission yet, and with obviously Final Fantasy Rebirth coming on PS5 with 2 discs, you gotta emphasize 2 discs. Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be a huge game. Like, it's going to be insane. And I'm pretty hyped for it, even though I have no idea what's going to happen, dude. Wait, we still got to understand what Zack's going to be about, if we're going to see any more members of Geek Ground. We got to see if, like, Genesis is going to come back, because I have hopes that Genesis is going to come back. A lot of people said they think Angel's going to come back, too, but I know Angel's, like, granted, he could come back easily, because, like, you know, new timeline, everyone who died in 7 could come back to life, right? And if Zack survived, who knows what else happened? You know, obviously, I know characters like Angel and Genesis. Well, Genesis didn't die in 7, right? I think I remember correctly. Yeah, Genesis did not die in Crisis Core. He was not dead. The last thing you ever see of Genesis was in Dirge of Cerberus, where he carries Vice off and to God knows where, right? But Genesis isn't dead. He's still around, right? Now, Angel is dead. Like, Angel is straight up dead. Right, but he could easily come back, or maybe he was like, you know, maybe in hiding or whatever, or maybe they're going to do something with the cells. Because when I remember back in the conversation with FF7 Remake, where Hojo was mentioning something about the cells, he was mentioning something about like, S and G types. We saw about Genesis' cells, so we already know Genesis is around somewhere, right? And Angel could easily just come back to life or some shit like that. I don't know. I don't know, man. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see this. You get to go like it's pretty cool to see how expansive like Remake is now. I'm very excited to see what else they're gonna do with it, you know. And plus, we got Ever Crisis to look forward to. I want to make a separate video about Ever Crisis because I have a lot to say about that. But I think I can end this video right now. It's fun seeing, you know, more stuff come out about 7 Rebirth. I'm sorry, I got you saying Rebirth. It's so hard to like. You hear Remake a lot, and it's the Remake project, but you're so weird. You're so used to saying Final Fantasy VII Remake, you just say Rebirth. It's so weird. But I think that's all I gotta say, really. That's pretty much it. That's all I gotta say. So I guess I'll see y'all next time. Peace, everyone. And I hope to talk about more about Final Fantasy VII on my channel. I really do enjoy this game.